Okay, YouTube. Today we're working on the 2014 Grizzly 350. This one has the solid rear axle, drum brake. They did make it with the independent rear. That's not this one. Working on the brakes. Time to replace some shoes. Felt some grinding, or some pads rather. Felt some grinding and confirmed our suspicion when we popped the wheel off. Inside pad is toast and on the back plate. We already finished up the other side. That was the outside. A little bit left. Probably 50% actually. Inside, almost all the way through the back plate. So, again, we finished up the other side. Try to get you set down here. Try to give you a good view of what we got. Front seat. Pretty straightforward. I think like many, we had to do two sides, so I may as well do the one side first, smooth out the kinks, if any. We had a few. What we did find, there's an interesting setup on these when compared to a car, but overall, we started mainly with picking out the dirt. Where's that pig? A little too much mudding and swamping, and so we kind of dig it all out of here so you can get a look at anything, but we haven't had a visual inspection on the inside shoe of this side, even though it does sound the same. Fully expect it to be in the same condition, so air hose please. Oftentimes it's always best to do both sides anyway while you have it. All the tools out. Try to get as much dirt out as possible so we can see what we're doing. Definitely did find two slide pins here with an Allen. I believe it was a 5mm. Yes, it's 5mm. Much easier to get these loosened up. At least crack them while the caliper's still mounted. Definitely one of the snags, and was able to do it, but much easier right now. Go ahead and do it while it's loose than it is to hold the get your favorite ball peen hammer and get two bolts in here. I don't know, can you get a view of those bolts? Right here, and they're a 12mm. One on the underside. Definitely be a lot harder to get an angle on, especially on a tripod. But I trust that anyone watching a video to figure out how to do this, or at least see it done once, as I often do. I think a lot of us can figure things out, but since we don't have to anymore, we don't. At least try to do a little bit of research initially. We didn't on this one. This was a last minute. May do some riding tomorrow. I thought we'd better check them out today. And next thing you know, we're doing a brake job. Keep extra shoes on hand, usually when we're out of state, in case we need something. Don't have to worry about getting parts. And so we already had two sets, and these are part number, get a good focus there, we got these from our local shop, Iron Pony, Columbus. Pretty big internet presence they have. So those two bolts come off, and a lot like a car or truck. Caliper's free. Go ahead and pick out the rest of your swamp remnants. And just as I was thinking, it's in the exact same condition as far as the inside, and you can see a little bit more light in there.
And that one's just like the other one.
Same thing. So just as bad. Here's the pins that retain the shoes. We already cracked those loose, so they unthread. And then eventually kind of run out of thread, and you kind of grab it. It's a little weird, especially because they have a little bit of corrosion, but they have a little pressure from the spring clip in the back side of the caliper, and between that and a little bit of corrosion on the pins, they almost feel like they need to keep threading, but they don't. They just kind of quit. They run out of thread, and you got to kind of pull on them. And I found that sort of spinning them while pulling on them helps quite a bit. And these have been totally submerged often. Water, mud, swamps. Far more than these machines were really ever intended. There you got the inside and the outside. Almost had no backing plate left. These discs, rotors, whatever you want to call them, on an ATV, I don't know technically, but they're in surprisingly good shape on the inside for having been grinding for that long. So I don't know if these back plates are kind of soft. There was a shim on the inside, and on the other side, when I was doing that, I couldn't remember which was, or I wouldn't have been able to, because they're identical. The shoes are identical. For not knowing that the inside shoe was paper thin on the backing plate, that's the one that has the shim. So the shim's to the inside here. This one started. Kind of wearing on the shim a little bit. The retainer clip. So like the other side, I like to get in here and get everything in pretty good clean and scrape, get all this mud, dirt, everything out clean as I can. really surprised at how good the condition is on these. Ooh, this side, the slide pins are moving nice and freely, and the other side was as well. So I'm going to choose not to mess with those. I don't expect that these, even though the disc rotor is in decent shape, don't expect that these inside shoes will last as long as that last set, because it is not quite as smooth as the outside. There's no grooves, but it's definitely a little coarser, and I feel like it's going to probably work that inside shoe pretty good, or pad, I'm sorry. It's going to work that inside pad pretty good, but we've greatly shortened up our servicing intervals on all of these machines because we, quite frankly, abuse them. So, try to take good care of them. I'm just trying to flush any dust and dirt out of there that I can't get with air or the brush. And I think these pistons may be stainless, because they must be some good grade of stainless, maybe a 304, something better than your typical stainless that your grill, for example, can't make it 3 years. Sorry about the air there. I'm sure that's not going to sound too good. So on these, the fluid reservoir is so small, there's not much capacity. Usually on a car or truck, and I think different people do things differently, but on the car or the truck, when I'm doing brakes, I always go ahead and push the pistons back. It forces old fluid back up in the lines, but I get everything put back together and then bleed it. I bleed until I get clear fluid every time I do brakes. It's worth the extra 5 or 10 minutes, and I don't have a power bleeder, but in any case, this thing has such a small reservoir that the gravity seems to do the job. I've been letting a little bit of fluid out. Obviously doesn't let any air in, but trying to make a little bit of room. And we've already added some new fluid to the master cylinder. Can you watch that? Keep an eye on that. So let some of that new fluid work its way down. Like I said, we've already totally drained, cycled through the master cylinder with new fluid, so really whatever's in this, just the line here, is going to be old fluid, but certainly want to get the old, huh? Where's it at, about half?
About that, just right above that lower mark.
Okay. Go ahead and add a little bit. How you doing?
Still, I can't even tell that it's going
Okay.
down. It's still full in the window.
Probably time for a little trim job. How you doing on there?
It's going down.
Where's it at?
It's right at the top still, just a little bit out.
Fluid's looking pretty good, so I'm just going to let it make some room.
Right now, back right above that lower mark. Right now.
I'll stop there. We'll get the piston pushed back and then adjust as needed from there. I used a C-clamp on the other side. It was a little awkward. I'm just wondering if... Oh. Can't even get it started with that guy. You watch the window?
It's going back up.
Where's it at?
Almost at the top. Alright, completely fill the window back in.
Okay. What's really interesting about this, if I was the type, I probably would have kept this outside pad on. Only replaced the inside. Knowing what I know now, I wouldn't do that on a car or truck, but this isn't really that difficult. And to be honest, if you had a 60% pad on the outside and a brand new one on the inside, they would probably both make it just fine. $30 per wheel on this. You could cut that cost right in half. So, I don't know. Maybe those of you can make that decision for yourself. Here at 4Boys, we still believe people can make decisions for themselves. And happy almost 4th of July to those of you that still believe in it. And I hope you do. Putting this old shim back on. You know what? I forgot to clean it up. I don't want to do that. Just a wire brush. And these are stainless too, usually. So, clean the dirt and the gunk off of there. Give it a wipe. For some reason, And these are the exact same brand, factory replacements. Match exactly the brand that was on. I hate that when manufacturers sometimes sell you an aftermarket part with factory labeling that is not the same that they put on. So I'm always glad to see. And these are Nissan, which I feel makes really good quality components, so it's no surprise that Yamaha is using those. Now, here's a little trick I sometimes do on cars and trucks. Not necessarily always on the slide pins, but the brackets. This dirt and corrosion doesn't really want to come off, and I do call it a little corrosion. It is. I take a little bit of sandpaper, wear it all off. It can be enough sometimes to change the tolerance and hang things up. And these shoes, while the whole caliper slides on those pins, these shoes, or pads, I apologize for that, got a bad habit of saying needs a new pair of shoes. So now I'm calling everything shoes. But these pads need to be able to move on these pins. So getting them back, removing that corrosion, you can see the areas that have been exposed the most. Getting it back to where it's nice and smooth, and I often modify plans, and I don't think this is a bad one. I try to be careful about not doing things that are bad ideas. I put a very paper thin layer of the anti-seize on here, and it's rated for temp, so this is a high temp lubricant, but more importantly will prevent these from sticking. And I would definitely say move your pan, because if you drop your pad now, make sure that your pad with the shim is to the inside, but get to kind of fumbling around with these, and if you drop your pad, I still have a little bit of grease in my pan right now, and it's the last thing you want. So that pin is in.
He's using the first time.
Yeah. Clean him up a little bit. And I think I had the feel for this. That first pin went a lot easier than the other side did. But there's still a spring clip in the caliper putting pressure on the pads, and you have to kind of push it in there to get the hole where you need it for the pin. And it was a little troubling because I didn't have them lined up great. I was kind of shifting them around trying to get it in. It pulled the shim off of alignment. So I think this time I just kind of took a little peek down in that pin hole, and I could see that was where I wanted to be. It certainly made it easier. But I think kind of knowing that resistance is there from that spring clip helps too. You got to push it. You got to push against it to get the pads where you want them. And this is going on a little bit thicker than I really want. I don't want much on here. These had nothing on them originally, and it could be argued, I'm sure, that they don't need this, and they probably don't. I don't know. I don't think it's going to hurt anything. And for us, often we can be trailside, out of state, trying to do something like this in the rain. And for the reasons like that, I'm also choosing to put just a small little dab on these guys. And they were torqued, no doubt. When we took them out, I don't think that they were stuck or seized, but I think just one little dab help make the difference I'm just snugging these until the caliper is remounted. Put a good snug on there, but still just a snug. Always make sure to get any extra anti-seize off. You don't want that stuff spreading. Make a little bit of room in here. I had thought about putting, I have like an ultralight Loctite. I had thought about putting a dab on here. I wouldn't be someone who thought it was a bad idea. It is not the blue, it's green. It's a green thread locker, which is very light, apparently. This guy's giving me so much trouble down here. There he is. Yeah, I definitely think. I think on the 450. We may recycle a couple old pads. I think you know, $60 in parts to do a front brake job on this is a little steep. Maybe there's a better deal out there. We try to support the local store there. They've got a pretty big operation going. They do a lot of online stuff, but there's plenty of times when I've found a much better deal. Can you grab that other 12 mil? Oh, I'm sorry, it's right here. I got it. Yeah. Get the torque wrench out here. Yep, feels good. Torque this from spec. Yep, it's good. We don't know what the spec is on these. We work on a lot of stuff. Have a pretty good feel for what was there when we got to it. Well, it was factory, and we know that. We know that to be true. So this guy's got all new fluid already. There was never any air. No need to bleed him again. Lever's nice and tight. Feels like it should. The level, interestingly, is perfect. So we'll have to clean up that gasket and get it put back together. But there you have it. Front pads. No disc, no rotor. Just a pad swap. I have no doubt this will be sufficient for what we're doing. So there you have it. Good luck on yours. Happy 4th.